Hey everyone, usually this type of video should go on my alternative channel where I talk about entertainment, and if you haven't subscribed to it, you should consider doing so because you're missing out half of my content. But in this particular case, I think this video deserves a little bit more attention. It's called Anime Gets Blacklist Wrong. Here's how fans are fixing it. So the reason that I decided to criticize this approach is because I have watched the entire 8 minute of it, and I haven't seen any poll, any survey, any sort of questionnaire that would show how the anime community as a whole thinks about the issues that The Guardian talks about, which I find quite bizarre. The second thing that I find weird is that they assume that anime creators are racist. And they haven't invited a single, not even one, a single anime creator in this interview to ask them why do they draw the way they draw? Why do they create the characters the way they create? Everything is an assumption by what I can only describe as mind readers. They just assume intent, and they go for the worst type of intent possible. There is no gray area, there is no maybes, no. Like, all of the anime creators are very, very bad people, and they create their art with the sole purpose of racism. And I think that this is very disingenuous, this is very bigoted. Again, this does not come from a place of trying to understand the art. And because they have no polls, they have no surveys, they have no data, the only thing that they have is the label of The Guardian. So they're using a multi-million-dollar corporation, which is The Guardian, and they're using the authority of The Guardian, which comes from the amount of money that they're making, in order to push this, I would call, anti-Japanese agenda. It's very similar to what the communists were doing in my country when we were behind the Iron Curtain with American culture. They would take something from America that was very popular, like rock music, and then they would say that if your kid listens to rock, he is going to turn into a Satanist. He is going to become LGBT. And they were going to say, like, look, about these lyrics that we heard in this particular rock song, and these other lyrics that we heard in this other rock song. So it's a pattern, and as such, listening to rock is evil. This is what the communists did. This was their criticism on American culture. And I think that this is very similar to what we're experiencing now that The Guardian is doing.
Very first introduction to the world of anime. And this is my cousin Dujon. I watched Dragon Ball at his house.
Sick! I didn't even know you had the merch.
I've got probably about 5 or 6 t-shirts.
What?
There's just something about it. Dragon Ball to me is like the gateway to manga and anime.
But this is also Dragon Ball Z.
The first time I ever saw Mr. Popo, I remember just thinking, but why did he look like that? I think that was actually my first introduction to what comic books were.
Okay, so this is a flat-out lie from the beginning. I generally don't understand. If they want to criticize a medium, why can they not find accurate criticism? Why do they have to make stuff up? If you were watching anime from the West, you would have seen the censored version of Mr. Popo. The reason Mr. Popo has been censored is exactly to avoid offending Western sensibilities. On the left is only if you would have seen the anime in Japan when it aired the first time, or if you pirated. So which one is it? Did you pirate it? Did you steal it? Did you steal the Dragon Ball anime? Did you download it from a torrent site? Huh? Which one is it? But okay, right. So their argument is that because of the way Mr. Popo looks, this shows that Akira Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, is a racist. Now notice how they didn't even bother contacting the creator. Notice how they didn't even consider asking someone from the staff. And I think the reason they didn't is because they know they are wrong. It's because they know they don't have a leg to stand on. First of all, Mr. Popo is not a human being. He is not an earthling. Therefore, he is not a black person. As you can notice by the ears, they are pointy. Okay, because he is probably an alien. I don't think it's ever discussed in the show, but he is the right hand of God. So I don't think that he is Namekian, but he is not human either. And secondly, let's assume for the sake of the argument that Akira Toriyama is actually a racist, okay? Why would he then create the most chaotic good character from the entire Dragon Ball cast as the black person if he is a racist? Like, Mr. Popo is one of the most benevolent and one of the most wise characters from the entire show. I don't think Mr. Popo has a single personality flaw. I genuinely cannot remember a single time throughout the entire anime that Mr. Popo did anything even remotely wrong. I guess the only flaw that he has is compared to the other fighting characters, he's not the strongest. And in a show where it's all about who's the strongest character, he gets sidelined. But when he is first introduced and all the way up until Dragon Ball Super, I can't remember a single thing that Mr. Popo did wrong. So, but again, The Guardian isn't making this type of video for anime fans. I think they're making them for the average Joe, the soccer mom. The ones that do not watch anime, and they're trying to appear convincing enough and trying to tell parents that, look, if your kid watches anime, there might be some problematic things that your kid is being exposed to, and it's a lot better if he just watches some Western animation instead. It's a lot better if you watch some CalArts things, that we know that they are safe because they have gotten through decades of critical theory. Meanwhile, anime is just outside of our boundaries, so we can't control it, and it might be very problematic. Just look at the way they're depicting black people. Here's a non-black person from an anime. Look how evil it looks, right? Do not let your kids watch Dragon Ball. That's pretty much the vibe of the criticism that you're going to get.
Common portrayal of black people in anime, and yet anime has a big black fan base.
A lot of people seem to kind of think that racism doesn't exist in Japan, and of course that's not true.
And that's why they didn't poll the community, because the community is very diverse. Look at any anime convention you want, and you will see people of all types of genders, of all types of races. Anime brings people together, and they don't like that. They want to segregate people on different factions, so then they can start applying critical theory and divide and conquer with their ideology. They do not want people to get together and enjoy a hobby. So now they have to criticize it and explain to people, hey, by the way, don't you think this hobby is racist? Shouldn't you put us in charge so we can decide how the anime should be like, and then also pay us millions of dollars in order to do it? This is the end goal. And by the way, they're actually doing this with Funimation. So if you don't understand what they're trying to accomplish, and I think they will accomplish this, is they want to treat the West the same way China treats the West. What I mean is, if you're a company in the West and you want to make a movie and market it to China, you have to censor it in order to appeal to Chinese sensibilities. This is why Disney, for example, removes Finn from the cover by making him very small to the point where you can barely see him on the Chinese poster. This is why Disney covers up Black Panther when doing a poster for China. It's because they know that the Chinese government is racist, but China pays their racism tax. As such, companies, they bend the knee. You want to sell your your thing to China? Well, you have to censor it. Otherwise, you can't make money. This is why every single TV show right now that comes from America is going to have gay characters in it. There's nothing wrong with gay characters, by the way. I don't mind if I watch The 100 and Lexa and Clark want to have a lesbian relationship. That's fine. But you're not going to see a single blockbuster movie that has lesbians or gays in it. Why is it? Because China bans it. So notice how these companies that are very diverse and very progressive are purposefully removing gay characters from their movies because they want to sell it in China. And this is what they want to make with anime, with Japan. Oh, you're a Japanese anime creator? You want to sell your stuff into the West? Well, you need to censor it in order to appeal to Western sensibilities. That is the end goal. And then they want to have a commission, an undemocratic, unrepresentative commission, which is going to look at the animes and is going to tell Japanese creators, no, you can't have this here. No, you need to change this here. No, you need to... There's a lot of money to be made in being part of that commission. There's a lot of power to be had in being part of the commission. Like, you need to understand, social justice is not about dismantling systems of power. It's only about creating new systems of power. Because, again, The Guardian could criticize Walt Disney for censoring their art in order to appeal to China. And the censorship that they do is racist, and it's also homophobic. But they're not doing it. Why? Because they already have social justice activists within the Disney company. So there is nothing more to create there. There is no structural power to create there. They don't care that Walt Disney is doing this. But they think like they can create other entities, for example, within Funimation, in order to try and censor Japanese creators. Now, you might say, well, hold on a little bit, V. I can just pirate my anime. I don't have to go through the official channels. If they're going to do this, you know, if they're going to start censoring anime and it's going to become as boring as Western entertainment, I can just, you know, go the originals. And the answer is no, you won't be able to. Because the Japanese creator, if he wants to make money, he's going to have to cater to a Western audience. Which means that they're going to have to censor in order to have Funimation approve their anime or approve whatever they're trying to sell.
The fan is to be cheering in one scene and like hiding your head the next.
First of all, let's get something straight. I'm definitely not here to cancel anime. But as a black fan, I am here to say enough with the racism.
Yeah, you're not here to cancel anime. You just want the power to censor what you don't like. And again, this is not done with polls or with surveys or with any type of data about what the black community within the anime fandom finds offensive or not. This is just dictated by a multi-million-dollar corporation called The Guardian. And they just want the power to decide how anime should be in order to be able to be sold in the West. And I would like to tell you that if you think this is about racismus, you're in the wrong. Look at the latest animes that created controversy within the social justice community, which is a very fringe community. If this community was actually large, they wouldn't need to make these videos. They would speak with their wallets, and they would make changes based on the market. But they're not able to do that. So the two controversies that recently have appeared, one of them is with The Legend of the Shield Hero. And in The Legend of the Shield Hero, you have a woman which makes a false rape accusation. So just because this happens in a fictional world, in art, and it gets people to think, it's like, hold on a little bit. What if some women can use their looks and their innocent demeanor in order to do evil things? And social justice doesn't like that. They don't want people to think for themselves. Like, they want people to be surrounded by the same type of messages that false rape accusations never happen. It's pretty much impossible for that to take place. And that's why they got upset over the anime and they wanted to censor it. Another example would be Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan talks about a group of people that have committed genocide in the past, the Eledians. And in the present day, the Marleyans, they use this victim narrative in order to oppress the Eledians for what they did in the past. So what the show tries to portray is that there is no black and white in history. It's all shades of gray. Some people can be the oppressors in one point of history and then become the oppressed in another. But again, this gets people to think. It gets people to ask questions. And this is why a lot of progressive outlets attacked one of the most popular anime shows to date, despite the fact that the fans love it. And you can tell that the fans love it due to the vast amount of merchandise they purchase. And this is what it is about. It's controlling ideas that happen in anime. It's not about controlling the drawings. It's not about controlling the characters. It's just like certain ideas should not be allowed to penetrate within the Western market. I like to call this Western bigotry, where the West is trying to project its sensibilities and its way of thinking upon other cultures and upon other countries. I don't see this as being multiculturalism. I'm sorry. I view this as being Californian uniculturalism, because all of this nonsense seems to stem from California. So yeah, I mean, I'll go a little bit in depth. I'll probably talk about the entire video on my live stream channel, because there's a lot to comment. You know, I watch all of the anime. I look at the arguments that they're making, and if they're not just plain out wrong, they're making things up in order to shoehorn the idea that anime is racist, and I genuinely do not believe that. And I genuinely do not believe that. I think the opposite is true. I think anime actually gets people together. Look at any anime convention you want, and you will see people from various backgrounds, from various sexual orientations and genders and races just being together and enjoying this hobby. Now, for the sake of the argument, however, just for the sake of the argument, let's assume that this would be the case. Let's assume that anime would actually be offensive. My question is, if art cannot be offensive, then what can? I don't want to live in a society with moral busybodies that are like the Christian Romans who are chipping at ancient Greek statues, drawing leaves over the genitalia because they feel offended. I think art should be an expression of the human psyche. And, you know, part of the human psyche is being offensive. And I think that if you take that away, it stops being art and it becomes something else. But anyway, right, I'll go on my live stream. I will go through this entire video and try to tackle their arguments and the stuff that they bring forward. Again, I don't think this has to do with black people, because I don't see any poll or survey that they have made. Simply because you get a black person to speak in front of a camera doesn't mean that they are representing an entire demographic. And again, the only thing that they have going for them is the fact that they hide behind the Guardian logo, a multi-million-dollar company. And unfortunately, you know, in a capitalist society, money talks. So if you have the vast amount of wealth in order to push a message, well, I guess the message is going to get pushed, right? So, you know, regardless of how many fans and little people are going to disagree with it, at the end of the day, we are just little peasants compared to the prestigious and aristocratic Guardian as a corporate entity. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys in the comment sections.